So the Kevin Durant situation is definitely a really weird one as of right now. I mean, among the league, there hasn't been too many. I wouldn't say meltdowns as much as the Nets, but I mean the Nets meltdown of the big three, including James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant. I mean, probably one of the bigger meltdowns we've seen previously. And I mean, Kevin Durant, it's looking like he's going to be on his way out of the Nets. And today we're going to talk about what team he's going to be going to and what a trade would look like. Because, in my opinion, I don't really think Kevin Durant plays for the Nets any longer. I mean, if by some chance he does, I mean, he probably will sit out, kind of like what Ben Simmons did with the Sixers, or a trade will happen. But I don't know. His future with the Nets isn't looking too great. So what's up? My name is JDC. If you like what you see, drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate it. And let's just get right into it. So I'll first talk about his stats for, someone that's probably one of the better players in the league, probably top 10, I want to say. So last season, averaged around 30 points per game, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists. He is around 33 years old, so he's getting up there in age. But at the same time, I mean, he is a superstar caliber player. So the Nets should be expecting some pretty great talent in return for him. And I want to say at least 4 to 5 first-round picks in exchange, because that's what James Harden got traded for. So looking at his shooting splits, in just 55 games played, shot the ball around 52% from the field and around 38% from three, and averaged around 37 minutes played. So Kevin Durant, I mean, obviously one of the more interesting players right now in the trade block. And the sole reason for that is because a lot of teams have been very interested. I mean, you can look at the thumbnail. The Celtics were interested. I think the Knicks were interested at one time. The Nets obviously don't want to keep him. The Heat also want to try pursuing him. I think all these teams, they have the right packages. I mean, even Toronto, they all have some pretty interesting players. But the thing is, the Nets aren't going to be trading Kevin Durant for some, bottom feeder talent, or even talent that's not going to help them win now. And especially, with Kyrie Irving on the trade block right now, trying to get some win now pieces in return from him. I think the Nets, they're going to be looking for some players that are going to keep them in contention. And with Kevin Durant being the type of player he is, I don't think there's going to be a big enough trade package to condone a Kevin Durant trade at all. I mean, even if Kevin Durant stays with the Nets, I mean, that's probably his best bet there. At the same time, I mean, I think he just needs a better scenery, or I didn't even word that right. Probably a new change of pace, I want to say. Kind of just get out of the Nets, because for the most part, I mean, looking at the last few seasons, first season he came here, I think he was injured. And then the second season, I want to say James Harden was there alongside Kyrie Irving. But obviously Kyrie Irving was out for a majority of it because of the COVID vaccine, I want to say, or some injury. I can't remember which one. But that was the year they were supposed to win. I mean, they got bounced out of the second round from the Milwaukee Bucks. And then, previously last season, I mean, Kevin Durant was injured. James Harden had a pretty down year and then got traded. Kyrie Irving, I think this was the year the vaccine happened to him. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot of factors going into the Nets, having this meltdown, but this is probably one of the bigger meltdowns we've seen in recent history. So looking at some trade packages, I mean, I don't really have, trade packages ready for me here, but we'll look through some right now. So I'm on heavy.com, and it says a proposed blockbuster trade sees ex-Warriors superstar land Kevin Durant. So we'll look at it right now. So this trade would involve the Kings. And I definitely don't see this happening, but this is just, something to, bounce the ball off. But the Kings would receive Kevin Durant, and the Nets would receive Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes, Davion Mitchell, Rashawn Holmes, and 2 first-round picks. And honestly, as enticing as that is, I mean, the Kings wouldn't be enticed to trade their rookie in, Keegan Murray. I mean, Harrison Barnes has some pretty high trade value. Davion Mitchell showed a lot of potential last season, and Rashawn Holmes, I mean, kind of just a throw in for salary purposes, or just, get him off the contract. But, what you're really looking for here is Keegan Murray being that young talent there, kind of be the future of the team. Davion Mitchell, another pretty young prospect that can prove to be something for the Nets later down the, future for them. 2 first-round picks, and Harrison Barnes and Rashawn Holmes, some pretty good role players right there. So in terms of what the Nets would be looking like, or what they would be looking like in a package, this, I wouldn't say if it would fit the bill. I mean, you'd obviously have to put like De'Aaron Fox. I want to say not even Domantas Sabonis. Keegan Murray probably wouldn't be in this package. It would probably be like De'Aaron Fox, Harrison Barnes. I wouldn't even know. I mean, yeah, you probably keep Davion Mitchell and Rashawn Holmes. You probably switch out Keegan Murray for De'Aaron Fox, which, the Kings wouldn't do, because obviously De'Aaron Fox is their, point guard of the future. But at the same time, I mean, the Kings do get Kevin Durant, who is still a superstar, but does have his fair share of injuries. So I've seen some other trade packages go around the league. I mean, with the Celtics, I mean, I think the Nets asked for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, which is pretty absurd. With the Toronto Raptors, I think Scotty Barnes was mentioned in one of them, which isn't really a great deal because I think Scotty Barnes, he's going to be the future for the Toronto Raptors. I mean, looking at, I think the Knicks were pretty interested in Kevin Durant, which I think they have the potential. They have a lot of first round picks they can trade. I wouldn't trade RJ, but they could. They can trade Julius Randle, Quentin Grimes. They have all these young talent, all these young players, on the team. I think they could definitely get a trade done. But as of right now, I think he stays with the Nets, and it just makes a lot of sense. So let me guys know what you guys think about Kevin Durant, what do you think about the situation. Definitely one of the more interesting storylines of the offseason. I mean, the offseason has been pretty boring, and that's pretty much one of the reasons why I haven't been uploading consistently. But we're going to go back on track here. Hopefully we can, get something happening here. But we got a Kevin Durant trade video. Let me guys know what you guys think about this. And I'm out. So this video. My name is GDC, and I'm out. Peace.